pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This one nation is coming under question.
Okay.
Yes.
We need to approve the agenda. If people had time to look at the agenda. Is there any corrections or additions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
We'll postpone action item 5.
Oh, for the, yep,
The hook truck?
the hook truck, they're gonna postpone the purchase.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
Is, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Let's approve the minutes from the January 7th board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. January 14th workshop session.
I'll make a motion to approve the work group session.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the January 14th board meeting, this is the one where we had workshop, but we also had a special regular meeting, whatever you want to call it, for the Eilers thing, so. Is there a
I'll make a motion to approve the,
second?
I wasn't here, Bob.
Second. Excuse me.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we got that done. Public comment period. Is there anybody who wants to approach the board for the public comment?
Yes.
Bruce?
In the action agenda,
You want to state your name first?
oh, I'm sorry, Bruce Chemical from Caledonia, Minnesota. Item 6 on the wetlands, on the tech panel. I have some questions about that. Would it be maybe more appropriate to do it when Aaron's here, in case there's some questions he could answer that I might ask that you don't know? Or
No.
shall I do them now?
You could state your questions now.
Okay. The tech panel findings report, items 1, 2, 3, and 4, basically are the findings, and they talk about the reduction in the impact acreage on the old racetrack site, that they would be reduced, and that the area in question is part of the existing comprehensive plan of the city of La Crescent in terms of not many options for development. Number 4 talks about discuss the memo and including grading plans during the January 10 meeting and proposed additional questions to the applicant. And I don't see anything about that. What were those other questions, and how did the project people or the applicant respond to those questions? I'd like to know what they were. And lastly, I'd like to know more about the soil conditions of that site. And I know clay had been removed, but to what extent and what kind of clay what depth of clay is left? And is it just clay, or are there other, is there any sand in that area at all? And lastly, it's a terrace, so that means that there's a significant slope from the terrace down to the floodplain itself? And how does that development affect the slope of that terrace? How will that terrace be protected from rushing floodwaters? I'm just thinking that it's a terrible site. It's just a terrible site. If I were considering purchasing a lot there, and it's going to cost me $40,000 to $50,000 just for the lot, and then I have to dig a hole for a basement, if I want a basement, if it's allowable, and if it's all clay, aren't we looking at, well, I live on clay, and I have water popping through the floor of my basement since 1972. And I have drainage around my house, and it doesn't make any difference. So there's a lot of water pressure problems involved with saturated clay soils. I just think it's a really bad place. But anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Bruce, those questions and stuff are available if you get with Aaron afterward. If you get with Aaron afterwards, he can show you those questions and answers on that.
All right, we'll start with our appointment with Southeast Service Cooperative. Sarah Ness.
Just briefly, Commissioners, I want to introduce Sarah Ness and Steve Solis. Steve, many of you have already met him before. Sarah Ness is with Southeast Service Cooperative. She's program manager and oversees STEM Forward and SSC's role in developing and prioritizing partnerships that support advancing STEM K-12 education and also workforce development. And today she's here to showcase Future Forward, which connects employers, educators, and students and work-based learning. And then Steve, as the director of SSC, is going to review the overview the 2019 member value report that organization puts together for each of its members every year. And I'm going to pass those out ahead of time and go right ahead.
Thank you.
So thank you for taking the time to give us a chance to come meet with you again. My name again is Steve Salee. I'm the Executive Director at the Southeast Service Co-op, which you are members of. And each year we prepare a member value report. You may recall, I don't remember when it was, but I came in the past and shared this with you before, and then also got into several of the services that we offer. So I'm not going to spend really much time on the services that we offer, but I just wanted to give you a copy of the member value report so you can see exactly what you're using the service co-op for. There are 9 service co-ops in the state of Minnesota. We are the only one that puts a report like this together. And we do it because we just want our members to see what value you have for becoming members, and we are always looking for ways that we can improve. So if there are, and I would say your staff here does an outstanding job of letting us know how we can support Houston County. So I feel like we have a very good working relationship, and we are always here to serve. Just a really quick summary of service co-ops in Minnesota. They were put together back in the 1970s with the sole purpose of providing support for school districts and local government, so cities and counties. We're very unique because we are a public entity, but we don't receive any local, state, or federal funding, which obviously makes it a challenge for us. So, so we have to find ways to create revenue without counting on state government to help us out. But in your member value report, you will see a comparison from fiscal year 19 to the previous year. One of the biggest services that you use the co-op for is the health insurance. I'm sure you're aware of that. And we do it's hard for us to calculate the value of that, but we come up with a percentage of about 4% of your total premiums. And the reason for that is because there's so much work that goes into it, from consulting services, taking a look at your rates, trying to work with the wellness program. There's just many services that come along with those health insurance premiums. The other thing that happens frequently is when you don't have a good year and your claims are very high, we often use our fund balance to try to buy down those claims and try to stabilize your rates. And it's an incredibly competitive market these days. So that's one of the biggest services that you use is the health insurance piece. You can also see that you've used professional development in the past. Last year, not as frequently as the year before, and that's not uncommon. It can really fluctuate based on what your needs are. And the other one that you have used, your offices here have used quite a bit, is the cooperative purchasing. And that's a statewide network where it's almost like Amazon. You can literally go online, plug in what you're looking for, and it'll give you the lowest price, and then you are entitled to purchasing those things through the cooperative purchasing network that we have in the state. The nice thing about that is all of the bidding is done for you. So if I'm a purchasing person or whoever does the purchasing in Houston County, you can go on that site and everything is done for you. Even vehicles, typically you would go out and get quotes and especially or bids for anything over $100,000. Well, by using the cooperative purchasing piece, all of that is done for you, so it eliminates the need to do that if you so choose. And I can tell you that you have used the cooperative purchasing a lot. Now, you won't see a number there like we have in the past because we've gone to a statewide model now. We used to keep track of everything in our region, and we had a specific breakdown. And in order to become more efficient, we've gone to a statewide model, so everything is run out of one of the service co-ops called Lakes Country. And so we're not able to access that data like we were before. So even though there is a value there, we don't want to make it up, so we didn't put anything in there for that piece there. And then you can see at the bottom there what your total value of membership was. You can see the savings is significant, and your membership fee was $250 for the year. So we do try to keep that as low as we possibly can, and then provide the services that we do. So with that said, I just wanted to do a really quick reminder. In your folder behind the member value report, you'll see a half sheet of paper like this, and this is just a really quick reminder of the things that we do offer local government. As I mentioned, insurance and wellness is one of the big things. Professional learning or professional development is another area that we offer, and we offer several trainings at the co-op. We also will provide customized professional development. So if one of your departments had a specific need, they can reach out to us and say, hey, I need to get some staff members trained in, it might be mental health, for example. And we will send a faculty member, we have and you'll see the brochure in your packet as well, but we have an entire arsenal of faculty members that can come out and do trainings on a variety of topics. We do all of the research for you. So if you give us the topic, we will find somebody qualified to come out and do those trainings at a very reasonable price. Workforce development is an area that we've entered into in the last couple of years. We've been very aggressive with this, and Sarah's going to talk much more about that. Cooperative purchasing, which I've already mentioned, and then facilities management is another area that we do. So we work with, we do a lot of health and safety things, asbestos removal. We have different companies that we work with in that area. Plus, we've contracted with a company called ICS that can do an entire facilities management plan, and anything from architect to engineering to building, you name it, they do it. But we have a great working relationship with them, and they offer a number of services as well. It could even just be planning however many buildings you own in Houston County. It could be a matter of setting up a schedule to replace roofs. You can come up with a 10-year plan on what roofs need to be replaced, and they offer those types of services as well. So I went through that very quickly, but really the reason we're here is Cher's going to share some information with you on workforce development and a very exciting program that we've developed called Future Forward.
All right. Hello? Is this on? All right.
Morning.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm Sarah Ness. I'm the program manager at Southeast Service Cooperative. I've been tasked with exploring the workforce development strategic direction from our board of directors to see how we can support our K-12 school districts, our city county government, and our nonprofits, and what that means. So it actually started out with a lot of conversations with our stakeholders, and in working with our stakeholders, they all work to support whole communities. So getting out into the communities and learning from employers in those communities and other vested stakeholders like chambers and EDAs and different organizations that support our members of the service cooperative to actually learn what their needs are as it relates to services that we could provide to our members that would then trickle down into the communities. And one of those topics that kept coming up was around the future workforce, which we have access to through our K-12 school districts, and how to help employers create opportunities to bring career awareness to their students in their local communities, and their educators in their local communities, and their partners in their local communities, of how we can potentially bring career awareness opportunities to those students to let them know about what future careers exist in our local communities, because we're all working to create and keep thriving communities, especially in rural Minnesota down here in the southeast corner of the state. So in talking with everybody, there's been a lot of research out there that shows that students really know what their parents do. And the other two biggest influencers, the other biggest influencer other than their parents, are the experiences that they get that help them shape what is that next step that they're going to do beyond high school education. So in speaking with our members, the one thing that we kept coming back to was we can work together to provide some of those experiences to our students to maybe help attract and retain some of our future workforce in southeast Minnesota. So we did some, I would call it research for the past 2.5 years, where we've actually reached out to other service cooperatives around the nation and asked what they were doing in this space. And an overwhelming number have been using an online tool of some sort, and a few of them in different states have had a whole model around a tool plus people support, because a tool is only a tool. It can't work without people. So we took the best practices that we learned about from these various states and brought that back to our membership and asked, would something like this work? The idea being a tool to help leverage relationships, because what we're also learning is that a relationship between a K-12 school district and any employer in the region, whether it's a city or county government or the local grocery store, is usually a 1-to-1 ratio, where one person in that organization knows one other person in that organization, and that's where the partnership lies. And if one of those people leaves, it takes a lot of time and energy to rebuild that relationship. So we needed to find some sort of way to capture all of the people who are interested in providing experiences and taking part in experiences. And we needed the people to help get everybody trained in on the tool, help develop the systems of support and the processes internally in the communities to make sure that this tool would be successful. So recently, I think it was this spring, we actually received some statewide legislative funding for a one-time grant to the tune of $1.5 million that helped us to develop that system. So currently, that fund, that part of that balance is going to pay for all of our high schools and middle schools in the 11 counties of southeast Minnesota to use this tool Future Forward, which I'll show you in a minute. It's also helping to support a new position that exists in a chunk of our school districts, so in about 20 of them, for career navigators, which is the people support. So the career navigator is going to be a hub that's going to be the connector between community members, different organizations, different government parties, different community partners like the EDAs and the chambers, and our school districts. So they're going to very much feel like a school district employee. They're going to be living in the high schools and in the communities that they're serving. They will serve down here. We call this area Bluff Country. We are actually having 2 career navigators that are actually going to serve the counties of Winona, Houston, and Fillmore to support the 8 school districts down here, get connected with their local communities to do more in the world of experiential learning. So we just hired our first career navigator, Lisa. She actually just was trained in last week, and she's starting to go out in the communities as of yesterday. So you may be seeing her around. And then we're hiring the second position later this spring. And then we have a third bucket of money from that grant that's going to support cooperative program development. So that's a bucket of money that's going to support the work that's going to be taking place with our schools in the 11 counties. To help get some of these new endeavors and new experiences off the ground. So high level, that's called the Future Ready CTE grant. So if you hear that, now you know what it is. But I wanted to come here today to show you the Future Forward tool because this particular piece of this grant not only will help service our K-12 schools and the future workforce, but it is also another strategy for our members to use for recruitment opportunities and to help showcase the open careers that are available within our local government members as well. So I just want to show you it to see if it's something that your county might be interested in utilizing, just because we hear from our members that, you know, we're all public employees and we all wear a lot of hats, so we don't have the luxury of having as much time or resources to put towards these efforts like for-profit businesses do. So with that being said, I will just walk you through Future Forward. Futureforward.org is the website. This is a completely free tool to use. So anybody can go in and use it, whether they are part of a company or they're just wanting to volunteer in the schools. Anyone can go in and create a profile for this. It's very much a hybrid of an online learning platform and social media. So it's going to be very intuitive for people to use and hopefully fairly simple. On the website, you'll see that we've outlined the features and benefits. We have put a recorded demo in here, so for other people who are looking to, maybe they want to see the inside of it, there is a video here that they can go and they can learn the steps on how to register, and they can actually go in the portal and actually see ways that you can be connecting with other employers, with educators, and with students. And there's testimonials in here because this is actually based off of a pilot project that took place in the West Metro area with 5 very large school districts, and was started with the 5 school districts and their local chamber of commerce. So it is a proven tool and it does work. The satisfaction rates are out of this world. Everybody is overwhelmingly happy with it. And if you're familiar with Net Promoter Scores, if anybody can get a 70, which is extremely rare, that's considered world class, and this got an 80 up there. So we have used our funding to test to make sure that it also works in rural Minnesota outside of a metro setting. I put this out there for our 50-ish public school districts that we have in southeast Minnesota, thinking that maybe a good pilot number would be 16 or so. We had got 31 letters of intent back from our schools saying, if you build it, our communities will be there. That's how badly this has been needed, and some superintendents and community members have been trying to get something like this up and running for the past 10 years, but it is a big lift. It's a community-wide lift to get something like this up. So they're all extremely excited. I'm going to log in here quick, and I'm just going to show you what the inside of the tool looks like. I'm going to log in as myself here. So the tool, like I said, it serves as both a learning management system where it actually has a lot of efficiencies built in to help people just make life easier and help make things happen faster. So when a professional logs in, they can see a dashboard of their page. We ask them to fill out first an individual profile because these are individual people that are in the system. Just so that educators and students know what you do and what your expertise in case they want to reach out to you to partner on something. There is the calendar option, so when there are events that you are managing for your organization or that you're participating in, maybe that are happening in your organization, somewhere out in the community or in a school, they'll show up here on this calendar. There's a list of my schools that you're willing to volunteer at, so these are the schools that will see your information. There is a lessons category where if you are willing to be a guest instructor in a classroom because maybe you have expertise in some content area, you can actually save certain lessons and then teachers will see that and know to directly reach out to you because you are willing to come in their classroom and are an expert at that content. And then there is a feedback loop that will be built into here. That's one of the things about having this be a grant-funded project, and to increase the engagement of students, we want to know if these are engaging experiences and if they're learning something from them. Because we're asking our employers in the region to give up valuable time to provide these experiences, we want to make sure that our students are engaging with them, and on the flip side, that our employers are providing really engaging experiences as well to try to capture those students' attention. So that's the dashboard page. I mentioned the lessons. In here, this is a great recruiting tool that's going to be used. Schools are already talking about how they're going to use both the companies page and the professionals page. The companies page is a great way to kind of market your organizations, and it's going to be used for students when they're asked in their career development classes, or which happen in either 8th, 9th, or 10th grade, to go do research on an industry or career cluster that they've identified as a potential career choice, which Minnesota Department of Ed has 16 career clusters that they name. And then within each of those 16 career clusters, they have a whole list of different career fields that exist within those career clusters. We've actually set up this system so that when anytime a student registers for the tool or an employer registers for the tool, we have them identify what those industries and career clusters are, so that the tool can actually do matchmaking and put the right types of experiences in front of the right types of people. So we're hopefully connecting the right type of people, so that we're getting better leads for our employers, but we're also getting better experiences for our students so that they can validate if this is something that they're interested in after they go through the experience, or once they go through the experience, they can validate that, maybe that's not for me, but at least I learned it now in high school before I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a post-secondary education to go pursue it. So, so in the business page, you can upload photos, videos, you can upload your current employees. So anytime a person registers for this system, they can look up your company page and they can click a button that says join this company, and then the site owner or whoever manages that company page gets a request that says Sarah Ness wants to join your company. So you can actually create an ongoing list of all of your employees that are in the system who are willing to do experiences, and it's just going to help our educators and our students, once they know a company that they're really interested in working for, start to network with those people and get to know the different facets of the organization. Similarly,
Sure.
there's also a professionals page, which is like a Rolodex, a big phone book, if you will, of all of the professionals that are in the tool as well. So we really see our educators coming up to this page and using this page when they're trying to get employers into their schools for different events, maybe career fairs, guest instructors, and you can sort by any of these pages by company name, by role. When you do register for the tool, we ask you to identify what you're comfortable doing with our students and with our teachers, whether it's on the lower end of just coming in for 40 minutes and teaching a classroom lesson, or if you have paid work experience opportunities available or internship opportunities available. You check the boxes that work for you and what you're willing to participate in. So they can come in here and search by those opportunities, and again, they can filter by industry. In a nutshell, I'll just kind of leave it really high level. If you have more questions, you can absolutely reach out to me, or you can take a look at the recorded demo. But our main goal is just to help our communities continue to thrive, keep and retain our talented students that we have for our future workforce, because there are some great careers that are available in Southeast Minnesota, and it's just because of a lack of exposure to it that sometimes our students don't realize it. And we're excited that our communities are coming together on this initiative, because our schools are now having great conversations with one another, saying my community really excels in agriculture and yours really excels in manufacturing, and I would love it if my students someday could continue to live here in my community but maybe commute to your community to work, and we can share talent and resources. So that is Future Forward.
Very good.
Yeah.
Jack, you had something?
Yeah, I'm just curious, again, how does the employer get to be a page? I mean, do you go out and solicit, visit, and then ask whether they want to be part of this? That's how they...
Yeah, so right now, anybody that goes to futureforward.org can just register for it with that little yellow button in the upper right-hand corner. It takes like a minute to register to get on the system. But our outreach strategy right now consists of our career navigator is going to be working with the schools and our local partners and our members of the co-op to determine how we get word out about this and how we get this in front of people. I'm also available to help support anybody that needs extra help. Right now, we're having some really good conversations with Lions clubs, with chambers, with economic development agencies, with our local government members, people who serve a large group of stakeholders are great places to start. And then Lisa can actually go out between her, the local chambers. So Bluff Country is really fortunate because you already have an established network of people that have been working on this idea for the past 2 years. So you have CETA folks from the local economic development agencies. You have some local chamber representatives. You have Workforce Development, Inc. And then you have your school districts and now Lisa that all meet together once a month and develop these strategies. So there's a whole team that's here to support this region.
Good.
All right.
I have a question. We're part of the Workforce Development Board with the 11 counties, and they do very similar programs to this. Do you work with them?
We do. So Workforce Development has been one of our partners from the very beginning of this. And I actually just had, when Lisa was training in last week, I actually had the team that represents this region from Workforce Development Incorporated down to meet with her to develop how we do outreach together. Because I think Dee Slindy works in this area, and so Dee and Lisa are going to be working very closely on how we leverage Dee's position and her outreach that she does as well.
Right, because I know they have internships and they go to the schools and.
Yes, we don't want to duplicate work. We want to
Okay,
bring the right
that's what I'm
resources
hoping.
together. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, or is there somebody who wants to pull something out, or any questions?
I think we got all this information in our packets.
Yep.
And I didn't have anything that I wanted pulled out. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda approved. Okay, now we'll move on to action items. Brian, you got some resolutions to talk about here?
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I have 3 items today. The first item is to approve the resolution 20-14, the final acceptance of project SAP 028-030-006. This is some paving that was done on County 2 in Eichen, County 3 in Caledonia, and County 29 in Middle Crescent. So the original contract amount $2,468,101.47. Total work certified $2,455,306.26. We came in slightly under the original contracted amount. Project went good. There's really no issues that came along with it. So.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the resolution?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay, the next item is approval of Farner Asphalt crack fill quote for some repairs on County 16. So typically what we do for crack filling is we just go out there and we do just normal crack repair where we'll either do some grouting or routing of the cracks, or we'll do it without routing the cracks. County 16 is in getting pretty poor on the ride quality, but the actual pavement isn't too bad. So what's happening is when you go over the cracks, they're cupped. So every time you hit that crack, you have a jolt on the vehicle. So what we would like to do, instead of doing a normal crack filling this year, is to use a product that they actually spread out over the crack. It's a little bit wider, has a little bit of aggregate in it, and that'll fill some of the cupping. It's a product that other counties have been using. Spoke to some of those counties, they've been having really good luck with it. With the cost of this, we're estimating $41,720 for the work. They're saying that that should get us 3 to 5 years. We're hoping to get 4 years out of this before we repave it in 2024 is my hope.
Yep.
At the cost, if you look at what we pay for asphalt for this long of a roadway, if this gets us 1 year of increased life of that roadway, we break even. If we get 2 years worth of life and increase the ride, we come out ahead. So I recommend that we do this year for crack filling. We've done a lot of crack filling on other roadways the past few years. They're in good shape, so we can put a little bit more money toward one roadway instead of spreading it out throughout the county. So.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Farner asphalt crack fill quote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Is this a trial at this type of process? You're going to see how it works?
This would be the first thing we've done in this county. I've considered doing it on other roadways. We just haven't done it yet. But based on what I'm hearing from other counties that have done it, they've really liked the end result.
Do you have to put something over the top? Is this prone to getting popped out by the plow?
So actually what they do is they put this down and they do put a little bit of aggregate over the top of it that gets pushed in. So that's what they're saying, that 3 to 5 year life is, because eventually the plows are going to be chipping away at it.
What kind of aggregate? Sand or something? Or
I'm not sure if it's a
cold
sand or
mix?
if it's a small chip.
Small chip.
I know that it's a small, fine
Right.
aggregate. So I don't know the exact size.
That's it.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
The third and final item I have for today is approval of resolution 20-15, which is the final acceptance of contract for project SAP 028-599-097. This is for a bridge replacement on Hatley Drive. Bridge was replaced earlier this year. Everything turned out pretty good on the project. Original contract amount $106,294. Work certified $110,654.50. So the overrun is primarily just due to a little bit of extra rock out there. So the project originally had like 70 feet worth of work. By the time they got done, it ended up being a couple hundred feet that had to be put on the roadway of aggregate.
Okay,
Move to approve.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, consider approval of a budgeted ATV for the sheriff's office. Mr. Sweatberg.
Morning.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Looking for your approval to purchase a ATV for the sheriff's office from funding we received from the DNR last year that you approved for roughly $9,000. Then we sold our old ATV and side-by-side we had last fall, roughly a little over $5,000. The used ATV we're purchasing from M&M out of Rushford. It would be $15,075 between the DNR and the vehicles that we sold. We have a little over $15,100 some dollars, so it'll all be covered under that.
Perfect. I like the fact that you found a good used one to purchase, so.
Yes, the one is it's crew cab.
Yep.
Nice size, 900. Has a roof, windshield, full doors on it.
Oh, it's a full cab too?
A full cab, so everything we basically need,
Okay.
except
And
for
a
plow,
winch.
you let maintenance use it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Where do you keep this? Is this going to be in the garage at the sheriff's office?
It'll be in the garage or at the shed.
If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Approved, thank you. Okay, we're not doing, it's a 5. Number 6.
TIP application.
Yep. Aaron, do you want to come forward with that, or?
Morning.
Morning, Aaron.
So today I'm here to talk to you about a joint application received from MSN Development for what's known as the Horse Track Meadows development near La Crescent. This application was for a banking plan for wetlands. The development will impact a known number of wetlands, and they're proposing to purchase credits to offset those impacts from a wetland bank. I did hear some of the comments earlier. The board's focus in this case should be on just the scope of the wetland impacts. The other considerations would be the purview of the city of La Crescent, that this has been annexed, so
Right.
they would make decisions over where they feel it's appropriate to develop.
Yep.
You
So
had
we're just dealing with the wetland part.
just the wetlands, yeah. So the TEP has viewed the site. The TEP had previously, and the TEP had previously recommended, and the board had previously approved the wetland delineation at the site. At that time, they were not asking for approval to impact any wetlands. They were just asking for concurrence on how many wetlands are there in the area. At this point, they're building off of that, and they're asking to impact wetlands with the development overlay that they're proposing. The TEP has viewed the site during the previous application and met on 2 occasions regarding this with the proposers and their agents. They're working with WHKS. We've gone back and forth several times with questions. You saw that in your packets.
It was a lengthy,
Yes.
yeah, it looks like everything's being covered.
Yeah, so the
Yep.
TEP at this point has a recommendation to approve and has created findings in support of that. The board is the final decision maker on this application. I'll also note that we did extend the deadline for action this one time, and that extension will expire on February 4th.
Okay.
So if we approve today, that would satisfy that. If we deny today, that would satisfy that. But if we did not act today, that would by default approve on February 4th.
Yep.
Right.
Aaron, just out of curiosity, do you know how many lots have been planned now after a lengthy
Yes.
process?
So the final revision that they supplied to the TEP shows 55 lots.
55.
Does that include apartments and that kind of twin dominiums that,
It started out as a split
yeah.
subdivision.
Yeah, I'll pass this around so
Okay.
you can look, but you'll see that lot 55 on their plan is larger. I don't know that we have details on what they're proposing there, but it might be something else.
And this will go through, we're only considering the TEP plan, the
Right,
wetlands.
it's just the
at this
wetland.
point. Then
Yep,
it goes
and-
back to the city planning and zoning?
Yep.
The city would they have their own process for
Okay,
development.
it's their process.
Yep.
Ours is only the wetland delineation.
And
They
they
have
have,
next that already.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
It's
a long
already-
time
That's
ago.
already a next, yeah.
so our role is just the wetlands,
Right,
and they're going to purchase credits to satisfy that, so.
right.
Maybe while you look at that, I'll go over the findings that the TEP created. They created 4 findings to support their recommendation to approve it. Number 1, the project was first proposed at 75 lots with an impact of 6.3 acres. Impacts were lessened by reducing the number of lots to 55, and thereby reducing wetland impacts to 2.48 acres. Development is very limited adjacent to the city of La Crescent, and the proposal fits within the existing comprehensive plan. Number 3, an alternative location further from the city was considered. and is expected to require a similar amount of wetland impacts, require a stream crossing, and require an additional lift station, all resulting in an increased cost with similar impacts. And number 4, revised technical memo dated January 2nd, 2020 was provided by the applicant in response to questions from the TEP. TEP discussed the memo and the included grading plan during their January 10th meeting and proposed additional questions to the applicant. The applicant provided responses and further revised plans on January 14th, which included updated wetland impact quantities.
Okay,
So Aaron, with regard to this plan, how much of the site has been annexed by the city? Is it just within the dotted lines, or is there a larger area?
The entirety of the parcels that this project is proposed on have been annexed by the city.
But does that include the areas surrounding it, or is it just, when you follow the dotted lines around the outside of the, is that the only part that's been annexed?
Boy, I'm not sure I can answer. I'd have to look at a parcel
Right.
layer. I don't know if they're delineating the scope of the review. They delineated an area where they said, within this area we looked for wetlands, and they may be delineating that in there.
That's what they're delineating?
I'm not certain of that. It may also be a
I'm just
parcel.
curious, I mean, it sits on a plateau, Pine Creek is underneath. Is the erosion possibilities a county issue or a city issue? I mean, is it within the county or is it within the city as far as if that hillside starts to erode or something, is it our problem or the city's problem?
I think that you could make the case for both. I know that when the TEP was going through things, we were looking at how different areas were graded and where stormwater would run, primarily with a concern as to how that would affect the existing wetlands. So if you divert water away from the wetlands, the worry is that the areas will become dry and no longer wetlands. Then those would need to be included in your replacement plan. In terms of sediment control, there is a stormwater pond proposed in this plan as well. It's designed for a slow release, so it has sand in the bottom and the water seeps through that slowly, and it has an overflow on the top. But that would work to combat erosion. I would think foremost, though, that's beyond the scope of really the wetland considerations, and more so the concern of the city in terms of whatever erosion standards they have in their ordinances.
I guess only question I had is if the erosion leaves the city and contributes to erosion, or the runoff contributes to erosion in the county,
Yeah.
I mean, do we have any say as far as
majority of
that?
the area, Bob, according to Beacon, it's all in the city. All of that, the whole, it goes out. I mean, the purple line here in the city, it covers the whole chunk of ground.
Okay.
Way beyond the lots.
So down to the creek and
Yep.
and what, okay. I guess that's what I was driving at, if this was gonna create a problem for the county in the
Yep.
future.
The TEP does, I guess in this case, the DNR, believe they did not have jurisdiction, but they are a member of the TEP panel. They did receive all the
Right, I see
information
that.
and did have an opportunity to provide comments, and did in fact provide comments. Army Corps is also on the receiving end of all the TEP communications. So
Right.
the two bodies that are charged with water oversight are privy to the plan.
And I guess my question really doesn't have any bearing on what the question here is.
No.
From that regard,
no.
but-
Ours is just the wetland part, and I'm confident in the packet, all the back and forth, they did their homework and came up with a decision, or a proposal, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been nothing hasty about this. That's been,
No. So is there a motion to approve the TEP?
so move.
Second?
It's your district.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Could I just clarify, in your approval, would you wish to adopt the TEP's findings as your own findings for the approval?
You wanna add that, Bob?
Or Jan.
Jack made the motion.
Yeah,
Or Jack, sorry.
that'd be fine.
That'll be added in the motion.
Accept findings.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, number 7, consider approval of payment amount change for the Rupp Anderson Squires bill for the reman of the Kruko situation, mine situation. We approved last time up to 4,500. The bill came in at 5,132. So we went, what Jeff told me, that went by a range from 35 to 45, so that's where that number came in, but obviously.
So does
the bill's
the
higher.
attorney's office pick up the difference out of their budget?
That was the understanding I
Sam was,
read.
That was my-
Sam was willing to cover the difference out of the attorney's budget.
Okay,
I remember Sam at that meeting said that he would take $1,500 out of some budget of his to pay for the 4,500. So,
so the board of commissioners will take the 4,500 and he'll make up the difference?
well, it was
No,
explained last time that the 1,500 would come
out of his,
go towards the 4,500.
Off the 45,
Off
not
the
off
40,
the,
okay.
anything over 45.
okay.
Myself personally, I think we went by what the estimate was that came in. I don't feel that we should pay the overage. It was on my understanding at that meeting too that Sam was going to cover the board positions and Mr. Squire's gonna cover the zoning administrator positions. And he ended up doing both, so that leads me to believe that's why there's an overage. So I guess what we gotta decide is there gonna be an approval to pay the overage.
Well, I saw the itemized bill. It made sense as far as the billing part, but we did at our meeting just authorize the 4,500.
I need to be clear on the 4,500. You're saying that of that 4,500, Sam had already said he'd cover 15 of the 45, and now he would need to cover 18 something rather than 15.
That's what was said at the meeting the last time, yeah.
Do you know? Jeff,
But I don't know about the overage.
Yeah.
So will
I mean-
the attorney's office cover the overage also?
Yes.
1,500 plus the overage?
Yep,
Yes.
No,
Okay.
okay.
Well,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's,
Be an additional $414.
yeah.
No, wait,
More than
No.
that.
more than that, it's
$632
$630.
or whatever.
Yeah,
600,
looking back at the messages, Squires had provided an estimate of 35 to 45, and the board set the 45 at the top, and I guess we probably should have given a little more wiggle room at the time, but.
so at this time, it's approving the payment of the bill with the attorney's office covering the overage and the 1,500.
If
that
that's what
correct?
you wanna make your
That's-
motion.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that.
And what is the total of that? Does Bob have that yet?
2130.92 comes out of Sam's,
2130.92, okay.
right? It's the $630.92 over 4,500 plus the 1,500.
Okay. Okay.
You agree, Eric?
Yep, I get it. I believe this was done with a roll call vote last time,
Okay.
Yes, it was.
so I'd like to request a roll call vote.
All right. So I'm for sure on what we're saying here. We're gonna approve the 5130.92 with $2,130.92 coming out of the county attorney's budget
Not us.
and the other 3,500 coming out of the
Commission.
commissioner's budget,
Yes,
That's how I understand it.
right? Okay.
okay.
Okay,
That's a motion?
that's a motion, and been
Aye,
seconded.
okay.
All right,
Yeah.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
No.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
All right, 3-1 passes.
Okay. Now we'll move on to approval of the child support cooperative agreement. John? Good morning.
Good morning. So we have a couple of fairly routine things in front of you this morning. The first one is the child support cooperative agreement. So each county in the state goes through this process. It's kind of a cooperative agreement between us and the state to do our child support program. It also includes parts that are associated with the county attorney and the work they do in conjunction with our child support program, and also our sheriff's office that delivers or does service of process for us. So it establishes kind of how the child support program operates, what our partnerships are with the county attorney's office and the sheriff's office, and then also establishes how we are reimbursed for that. Karen, you have anything you want to add to that? Karen's division is responsible for this.
No, this is a standard contract that we have to enter into every 2 years with the state. If we don't do it, we aren't eligible for the funding. So any of our incentive dollars, the reimbursements that we receive. So this is something it's pretty standard. We outline a budget with the county attorney's office as well as the sheriff's department. And the state has gone, it's a state contract that we follow, so we just basically execute and put in our dollar amounts.
Okay.
How do we do as a county in terms of child support payment enforcement, or whatever you want to call it?
We do very well. The annual report just came out and like last night, so I haven't really had a chance to review that yet, but.
You didn't stay up last night?
I did not,
Okay.
I'm sorry. So, when we look at a region, we're towards the top of the region.
We are.
Yes.
Good.
Up, it's on whatever page this is.
I can share the link to that report if you.
No, I just,
Child support
it's an
cooperative
issue
agreement.
nationwide. I mean, it never goes away, but you want to do, I mean, it's
Where do you see
children and that end up suffering when
Exactly.
it
that? I
isn't
have a very old
complied
one.
with, so.
It's 8 years old.
There's different components of what we do too. Part of it is establishing child support orders, and then the other part of it is enforcing those orders. And so they evaluate us on components in each of those areas.
Oh, page 121 and
Okay,
116.
is there a motion to approve?
I would make a motion to approve the child support cooperative agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved. Okay, the multi-county SNAP employment.
All right, we have a multi-county agreement that's been in place for some time, with Wabasha County as the host. The SNAP program is our food assistance supplemental nutrition assistance program. So that's the federal program that operates food support in the state of Minnesota. This is a program that provides employment training services, which are part of eligibility for single adults who are eligible to receive SNAP benefits. And so we provide those available employment and training services through our vendor WPI, where we work with them with our MFIT program as well. But we do this in a multi-county aspect with this for several years. Again, Karen's area is responsible for that. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, this service used to be a mandatory piece of the SNAP program. It is now voluntary, so we have seen a little decrease in funding. But it is something when, Southeast Co-op was here talking about workforce and trying to keep people engaged. It's a nice service to have. It is a voluntary component now, but we are able to refer people that are willing and want to get out to work. We can get them in touch with workforce development to help with resumes, and there are minimal support services that they can do. So,
When did that change from mandatory to
I
voluntary?
believe a year or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
When
this-
we,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
these are called ABODs, able-bodied adults without dependents.
Yep.
So we're seeing legislative changes come with this. I think there's another round coming up that we're just getting some information on. So, it's that population they're looking at, are they gonna receive funding or not? So,
That's what my question, this definitely would be impacted by the federal that just mandated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our regulations and the things that we do in response to that have their source at the federal government that then come to the state and gives us
Yeah.
regulations.
Well, this at AMC became, I suppose you could say controversial, or it created a number of questions because people were feeling like, well, how can you deny this person because he or she, but there are a list of this long of waivers, if if this is your issue, don't worry about it. If this is the issue, don't worry about it. So, it's trying to narrow it down to, hey, this guy's just fine. Why can't he get a job? Or at least try to get a job. So,
I think that's where the acronym that Karen shared was able-bodied adults without dependents.
right.
So, if somebody has a disability or some other thing, there are different ways.
There are waivers. Yeah.
So out of curiosity, how many people participate in this?
We typically have seen, 3 to 4 that will go over there. We haven't gotten the latest numbers from WDI on this, but we do have people that are going over and are really trying to engage and find employment and jobs. Our WDI has been, they mentioned East Lindy, so we've been really trying to establish partnerships with them to continue to help grow and try to get people back into the workforce. Because as we know, there's positions open all over the place.
Yeah, there's a big demand.
Mhm. Yeah.
When you say 3 to 4, is that a month, or a week,
No,
or a year?
per year. The funding is very limited, so that's about all that Houston County has allotted is 3 to 4 participants. So.
What happens if you get more?
They'll still serve them. They may not get the support services, so if they would need work boots or things like that, they may not have those funds available, but anybody can go to our local workforce.
So there isn't, if there are more, there's not an additional fee to the county?
Correct.
Okay.
Frequently, one of the, I suppose you could call it an excuse, or problem is transportation. So where is it that they're going to?
Workforce is just here in Caledonia.
So, it's not like they're having to travel anything. Okay.
But the contract we're talking about, is that the available funds, $4,115?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract for SNAP
Is there a
employment.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Approved.
All right, the final thing is approval of the, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Run your meeting there, Sharon.
No, just keep going.
Get on a roll, you gotta be careful with me, so.
I'm new to this too, so.
All right, consider approval of the Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center contract. We do a variety of different contractual services through Hiawatha Valley for both children's and adult mental health services. In the contract, it identifies rates for those services, And so this is an annual contract that we do. And again, they're a key partner in the delivery and coordination of those services for us here in Houston County. That's part of Bethany's division, so is there anything you want to add, Bethany?
No, I would just add that they are a key partner, being local. Again, you talk about transportation. If our individuals need to get to La Crosse or Winona or Rochester, that is more difficult. So having a provider here in town and soon, you know, a block away, I mean, they've always been only a block away, but, you know, they'll be in a nice location, so they are a key partner for us.
Speaking of the new location, I was gone, there was supposed to have been a tour.
Yeah,
Did that take place?
That was last Monday.
I saw it.
I was gonna go to that, even though we were off that day, but I had some sort of virus that, I don't know, I spent my 3-day weekend.
Did it come from China? I hope not.
No, I have not recently been to China, so, fortunately. But I did talk to Eric recently, and, you know, they're continuing to make progress on that.
I know there's a deadline now,
Yeah,
hard and fast, we need it.
I saw it on TV, the whole thing, and
was
they
it?
were hoping for April.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the
that's the deadline, April 13th.
It's more than hope now.
Yeah,
It's set.
it's
Yeah.
set for sure, okay.
So,
It was nice looking.
I think Bethany makes a great point, though, in that, you know, this is really a key partner for us and for the people of Houston County. And having these services provided locally is really critical. So we work very closely with Hiawatha. We've been really happy with some of the changes that have happened in Hiawatha under Eric's leadership, and, you know, so very supportive of this.
Yeah, I just missed also a chamber dinner in Winona, and they were featuring Hiawatha as one of the best businesses of the year, or however they worded it, but very, very nice. They are doing a very fine job under Eric's leadership.
So, when I look at the contract, is there a max dollar amount? I can't find the dollar amounts on this contract.
There is a max, and I believe, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it's 60,000.
That's the number in my head too, I think.
I
I can't picture
I'm
the.
scrolling and I can't see it.
Yeah, I believe it's 60,000.
Now,
So we set rates, but we do set that, I'm glad you brought that up,
Yeah.
because it isn't just, hey, whatever you want, whatever you wanna bill us. We've generally been well within that, but we do have that.
Okay.
Budgeted.
so, there was at one point some conversation with regard to like a psychologist type person. And that didn't come to pass, as I understand it.
Well, we had discussed support of Hiawatha in establishing a psychiatry service here in Caledonia. We are still working on that. However, the psychiatrist who had said to Hiawatha that they would provide those services for Hiawatha and for us here in Caledonia changed their mind and kind of pulled out of that. So psychiatry is a little different than psychology.
Right.
That psychiatry is, they're medical doctors, so they're able to prescribe. Psychologists would be more the counseling side of it. We do
So,
have those services.
The definition aside, if they come up with a psychologist, does that change this contract?
No, that's not related to this.
It's not related to this.
We would, what we had proposed is that we would provide some nursing support for a psychiatry clinic that would be provided 1 to 2 days a week in Caledonia.
Right.
So we hadn't established rates on any of that, and really, once that comes to pass, I'm still hopeful that it will. It's disappointing that individual pulled out of the agreement. We would look at what the cost is to provide the service as well as what we're able to be reimbursed. So if somebody gets a psychiatry visit, what does Hiawatha bill to third parties? And then we would be a subcontract to that. But that's not connected to this contract.
So that would be a separate,
Right, those rates and all of that is not included in this contract.
and if that came to pass, it's not included with our current budget either.
It would be, I think we've said that we would potentially have a available staffing time to support that.
So it wouldn't, financially, it would not affect the budget
No.
as it stands, okay?
When we built our budget, we did not project revenue for that psychiatry clinic, 'cause it was not solid enough last summer when we built the budget. And quite honestly, even into the fall, it wasn't solid enough. We were still putting all those pieces together. If that came to fruition, we would come back before the board with another agreement that would show what the rates are and everything. Eventually, it may be something that we would just say, hey, why don't we roll this into our base agreement with you guys?
Sure.
But it would be highlighted as a specific agreement, at least the first run through it.
So the only thing I was asking is if it does come to pass, it's not gonna affect the current budget as it stands.
You know, I need to look at what those numbers are before I bring it forward.
Sure.
But it would be a separate issue, and,
Right.
you know, we'd look at cost and benefit and all of that.
Okay. Anything else? If not, if there's a motion to approve,
So move.
second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
No, sir.
I think it's a good thing.
One last chance.
Get that look. I'm done.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank
Approved.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
guys have a good day.
You too.
Okay, approval of resolution 2012 election equipment grant application. Donna.
A lot of pages.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Got a lot of paperwork there.
We'll open here. Okay, so I am just asking for consideration of approval for an additional grant that the Secretary of State's office has offered to the counties. For the grant is, the whole grant is gonna be for $2 million, and they will actually accept applications. The application process ends on January 31st. And at that time, they will take the applications they get and they will review them. And if they get, such grants that are over the certain amounts, they're gonna appropriate to each county, to each eligible jurisdiction, a maximum of $5,000 per precinct. So my plan is to apply for additional $32,000, which will give me 25 new full pads. Electronic rosters are the same. That's what they're referred to as. And with that, with the electronic rosters, the Secretary of State is requesting that the counties match up to 25% of that. But
How much,
at this
what
time,
percent?
25%.
25.
25% of the 32,000.
Of electronic rosters, yeah. The other equipment, which some counties maybe have not gotten the DS200s, we've gotten all our DS200s, so we won't be applying for any of that kind of thing. That is a match of 50%, but we won't be applying for that. So the electronic rosters are 25% match, and at this time, it's just a matter of applying for the grant and see where we're at as far as how much the county gets for the funds. That's why I'm asking today, it's just for consideration of the grant, of applying for the grant.
So where would the 25% come to?
$8,000.
$8,000, yeah.
Are you applying for 32,000 and then we match, that's 75% and we match 25, or is 32 the total?
32.
Of which 8 is ours and,
Okay, the 25 full pads would cost $32,000.
okay.
So that's the total.
Yep,
But you can get less than 32, correct?
yep. So it would be, we can, at this time I just applied for 25, but, we can see how much money we get. We can, whatever amount of money we get, we'll have to just, I can probably make it by with less pull pads, but I wanted to apply for 25 so that I get the amount of the grant of money that I want to purchase pull pads for, but we can see what happens when the pull pads come.
Would the
Or
25
the grant is approved.
would the 25 cover all your needs or not?
Yes, 'cause
Okay.
I've got 10 already,
Yep,
which we purchased with our previous grant.
yep.
And so we've gone over everything and reviewed the precincts, and I feel that 25 would be the number that I would need to fulfill the needs of all the precincts.
So now when these, sorry, Jack.
No, that's fine.
When you get these poll pads, now there's like some townships are like in Houston, there's 4 townships and 1 polling place.
Yes.
They would only get 1 polling pad?
No, they will get a polling pad per precinct.
So it'd be for each township?
Mhm.
And so the
Because-
25 plus 10, that would, okay.
Yeah, because the reason being is, if you think of it for the fact that when we give out rosters to all the precincts, we wouldn't want like to mix rosters together, so we
Right,
want each
yeah,
one of them.
so that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I didn't realize that until, we got further down the road and we were reviewing things like just the last month now, and that's what I've come up with is we'll need about 25 more, and that'll give us a couple additional for backup reasons, and, that's the number I'm gonna shoot
So
for.
getting fewer than 25, you have prioritized where they would go because obviously
Yes, here's the deal, with voters over 500,
Yeah.
precincts over 500, I've allowed like 1 poll pad per 500, so that larger precincts like La Crescent and Caledonia, they will not have people waiting in line, so that's why
that was mine.
I've kind of based it on that.
Sure. Okay.
And all the townships are, I've talked to some town board members that are not overly
Excited?
about using poll pads. It's, just check the boxes and you're done. If we got the poll pads, do they have to use the poll pads then?
Well, go
For the
ahead.
most part, yes.
But you're still gonna have the roster though.
We will not have the roster.
You won't?
In the beginning, we will have the rosters back up. Some counties, some say they print out the rosters back up, but I think really once they get used to it, it will not be a problem. I've heard over and over again that it's very easy.
Really,
to
it's up to the election judges to operate this, and if they have at least one savvy person that can do that, it's kind of slick, I think, once they get,
It is.
Yeah.
I've heard many
The townships
people.
just need to find one tech guy
Yeah.
in their mix to.
That's kind of the issue. They don't want to.
But I am finding, to be honest with you, I'm finding a lot of townships and cities who have said, their population of judges are getting older, so they're starting to get younger ones. We've had a whole slew of new people that are asking for training because the younger ones are coming on. The problem that arises for the most part is they're kind of thinking, well, gosh, we might have to raise the rate of pay for the hourly wage.
Yeah, because it's during the day and they gotta take
Right.
off work and.
Right.
Where these people have to have grandkids that can show them how to do it.
It'll be a learning curve. It'll be,
And they are really easy to use, especially if you have a laptop, it's pretty much the same thing. You'll just push a button and,
to me, I think it would be faster instead of throwing through all them pages
Yeah.
and trying to find the names.
It is. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah,
So
but,
once everybody
maybe
gets
it'll
on
be,
board.
I don't know,
Mhm.
yeah.
There'll be some training involved. The grant, we will get notified in March whether we get the grant money or not. So then at that time, if I do, if you guys do accept this, then, or approve this, then I will order the poll pads and we can expect training probably right around the same time we do our training. Well, actually, take that back. They've contacted me, No Ink. This is the, company that sells the poll pads, and they want to do training in April. I haven't confirmed that for sure yet, but they kind of like to do a big training in April for all of the clerks and all of the county people, and but I have, like I said, I have not confirmed that. But we will get a huge training on these poll pads, and it's going to be fairly simple. The trick, for the county, as far as my staff is programming each poll pad before the election, but that again, once you get used to doing one, kind of like brushing your teeth, you get used to it, and it's nothing. It's easy. It's gonna be easy. I feel
Part of me
confident
thinks that we should have the roster for a backup for the first time, but I know you hate to duplicate stuff, but
I I probably will, just because, you know how it is.
Yep. Yep.
We'll live and learn.
Last question I got, the $8,000, what budget does that come out of?
That is a good question.
Do you have money in your budget?
We have, I only budgeted 3,000 because I didn't know how many pull pads I would need. So with that said, I don't know if there's something I don't know if there's something I can, I think, according to the last time I had checked to see if I could maybe use the compliance from the recorders, but I don't think I can. Carol's not here. I don't think I can. So that is the $5,000 price tag that.
I guess I would, for the sake of getting the grant sent, I would suggest approving the grant application. Once it comes back, we see how much the grant is. Then we can make a decision
We'll have
on how many to buy,
Right.
how
We'll have
much
a
to
solid
decide,
number, yep.
and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see where we can
Then
pull
I'll
the
know
money
for
from in
sure.
the budget.
This is basically just to approve me to apply for the grant, because I have to send the resolution with the application, that the board has approved
And
me
it's
to
due
apply.
this week by Friday.
Pardon? Oh, I thought somebody said
Which,
something.
which fund did you say you had questioned whether?
Oh, the compliance.
Compliance,
But
that's,
I don't-
I was gonna mention that.
Yeah,
but-
and I don't know if, you know, that's something we'll have to review with Carol and Sue.
Sue,
You know, from
yeah.
the recorder, yeah.
Okay,
That's an idea.
But like you said, at this time, this is just to, ask for the consideration of approval, and we'll probably have to worry about that when the time comes.
I'd make a motion to, apply for the grant.
Is there a second?
I'll second it,
Any more
Good thing.
discussion?
No, sir.
since
Oh.
I'm an election judge.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to appointments to the Board of Adjustment. Jeff?
All right, so on the voting, as it came through for the, I'll start with the Planning Commission and talk both of them, but for the Planning Commission, Rick Schild, to be reappointed, and then your next choice was, Mr. Feldmer, for the other position. Conversely, on the Board of Adjustment, by voting, Ken Visker and then Mr. Feldmeyer again, so the second would be Franklin Hahn. So based on that, Board of Adjustment members, two new appointments for Mr. Visker and Mr. Hahn.
So there was a tie, or there was,
There was a tie, well, for the Planning Commission,
Yep.
there was a tie after Mr. Feldmeyer. So that tie is irrelevant for second place.
okay.
Since we voted in the two separate categories, Mr. Feldmer was the top in each, but he can't be on both, so.
All right.
So I guess if he wished to consider which way you ranked them, which board you put him on.
So at this time, you're saying for planning commission would be Rich Sheldon and Wayne Feldmeyer?
Yes.
And then Ken Bisker for Board of Adjustment, which is a reappointment?
Yep.
And
Franklin.
Han
Yep,
for the Board of Adjustment?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Fine with me.
Well, I guess first we'll approve the Board of Adjustment nominees of Rick Shield and Rich Shield and,
Wayne
No,
Feldmeyer.
no,
that's
the other way,
planning.
that's planning.
That's planning.
oh, sorry, did I say
Yeah.
Board of Adjustment?
Yeah.
Planning Commission.
Okay. Shield and Feldmeyer.
Yep.
For planning commission.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye. Whoops. I got
You voted twice there.
Yeah,
You
I
can't
did.
do
No,
that.
yeah.
right.
Take that first one.
All right.
Scratch.
And that's why we had to go to round two of the voting.
I was
Okay.
ready for the second one already.
Now the Board of Adjustment of Ken Visker and Franklin Hahn.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
I will contact the individuals and let them know. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, consider approval of the resolution 2013 for Highway 16 speed reduction.
This
Jeff?
is the one that Hoka is requesting us to
Yes.
support?
Yes. Yeah.
So the city has officially asked us to do this, or?
No, I was asked by,
I asked
Commissioner
him to
Burns
put a
to-
letter together after having talked to the sheriff and some people from Holker, but not, I didn't go to the city council meeting. But I thought
It's
we
kind
were
of out of our hands because that's a state highway,
within our county.
right?
And I thought we should support Hoka and their request with regard to the speed limit reduction in that area, Highway 16.
But there wasn't a request, though, official request. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not against this, but I'm just saying it should follow the proper channels. But whatever.
I thought being within the county, it's part of our channel. I can go down and talk to the city council and ask them if they want our support or not.
And actually,
City
all we're
attorney
asking
thought it
is
was
them
okay.
to review the speed limits,
Okay.
because they have to do it, don't they have to do a
They
study
do a
before
study.
they would reduce them anyway?
They-
So we're just asking them to do a study, basically, right?
Well, is that
Asking them
is
to
that how the
act.
resolution reads?
Or to add.
I will pull up the resolution.
I don't have it, I don't remember seeing it in my packet where it is.
It is, it's on page 168 of 168.
So as written, the resolution reads, whereas the current speed limit in the city of Hoka on Highway 16 from Main Street, Highway 44 west of the city to the end of the city limits near 10th Street is currently posted at 55 miles per hour and is slated to be increased to 60 miles per hour. And whereas there were 2 fatality accidents in this area in 2019, along with other property damage accidents and personal injury accidents as well, and whereas the county shares the concern of the city of Hoka about the speed limit in this area with the structure and terrain of this area, would also request Minnesota Department of Transportation to conduct studies to review lowering the speed limits in this area. Now therefore be it resolved, the Houston County Board of Commissioners requests MnDOT's cooperation with the city of Hoka to conduct the necessary studies and strongly consider lowering the speed limits in the city of Hoka on Highway 16 from Main Street west of the city to the end of the city limits near 10th Street, where the speed limit is currently 55 miles an hour.
Soon to go to 60.
Yes.
I'd make a motion to do that, definitely.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any more discussion?
Just a comment, I guess, I wish the posting would, if it occurs, would make a difference. I don't think it will.
What do you mean?
Well, people won't abide by lowering it.
Well, if law enforcement enforces the speed, the speed limit, they'll abide by it.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Has
I
to
know
be
I'm paying
enforced.
closer attention.
Yeah.
Well, it was an unfortunate recent accident there,
Right.
and
But you do come off that hill
Yeah.
at probably an improper speed, many people. But I would, obviously, I support the resolution, so.
okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval.
Thank you.
Okay,
It was a good year.
we'll have administrative updates. Jeff? you got-
I don't have much for the board today. Just a reminder that we have the Highway Planning Commission or Highway Planning Committee meeting this afternoon.
Oh, good.
If able, our consultant is meeting with the city to look at zoning issues at 11 here, so.
Is that gonna be here at 11?
No, it's over at the city.
City Hall?
So if we want to run over there and catch part of that, you may. So I'll stop with that.
Okay. Commissioner reports, we can start with Teresa. We'll start with the longest one first. or-
I had EMS meeting up in Rochester 2 weeks ago, and it's very good. Of course, we're still looking for funding, and when we go to the legislative conference, please tell our representatives and senators that they need the money, cause seatbelt money is going down very fast. And they are record busy with their, it's called critical incident, conferences with people when there's an accident. They meet with the sheriff's department or the ambulances or the fire departments and help them work through the psychological part of somebody dying or somebody being injured. We're getting a lot of requests for it, more than ever. People are really affected. If a child's killed, you know, and the ambulance person has to be dealt with it and they know it's their neighbor, there's a real psychological thing. And they have a whole team that all we have to do is call them, they come. It's all included in our funding.
As far as the funding is concerned, was there any discussion of tapping into the
We're trying to. The hands-free fines, that's one of the things we want them to consider.
I think I read, must be the metropolitan area, it was 9,700 tickets written.
Yeah, and, yes, and we would, all the regions in the whole state really would like that funding, a portion of it, to make up the difference.
Revenue, you mean?
Yep.
You would like that revenue.
Revenue from the hands-free ticketing, yeah. Then I had workforce development, and that Ginny, who is here, who's a director, is going to all the counties. She started with us in Olmsted, but every county wants her to come and say what their statistics are, what we're using it for, and everything. And she's just real dynamic person on that board. And that's one of the reasons I was asking our Southeast Minnesota, whatever, cooperative, to work with them, because we're doing some of the very same programs with internships and contacting high schools and getting those kids into more than college, you know, into real careers.
Alternatives, yep.
Alternative
Trades,
careers.
yep.
So we had a lot of discussion on that too. Then I had a SEMCAC meeting, my first one. It's amazing to me what all they do, SEMCAC. It is the housing, the food pantries, meals, weatherization. It was, a lot of it is federal money, but some state money, and some county money, of course. And then, so then the director there, who, he's another dynamic director. He's just so enthusiastic. Had me come up on Thursday for an orientation and meet everybody in the office in Rushford. Oh my gosh, that too is overwhelming what all they do.
Did you get all his paperwork then?
And then he gave me the book of audit, he gave me the survey I had to take. It was, yes, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm really kind of excited about it now that I realize what all they do. It's amazing to me how many people they help. But Head Start, unbelievable. It's really good. So it was kind of a busy, and then I was gonna go to that new Italian restaurant in Rushford that I heard so much good about, and it closed 2 months ago.
It closed already?
Yeah.
There is one in La Crosse and Center 90 by the same owner, but he closed the Rushford one.
Well, yeah, okay, I did read about that. He's not Italian, but doing Italian, yeah.
But I heard the food was very good.
It was.
But, so we went to Stumpy's, had a burger and fries.
And bar food and stuff.
Which was good, I can't complain about
Put
it.
Italian dressing on it.
Yeah.
No, Doug Grout's very good.
Oh, I'm very impressed.
he's
And
got a
he
lot of
did get that
experience.
Bridges program through for well, there's 2 people in Houston County that can use it and several in Fillmore County.
Yeah, I was working
which
with him
helps
on
them,
that.
yeah, which
Or
helps
I got
them
him
pay
this
their
year.
rent while they're in transition
Yep.
with their,
Yep.
yeah. So he really moved on that one too.
Yeah, he told me when I was talking to him about that he doesn't like to see things fall through the bureaucratic crack. He
I
likes to
know. Yeah.
follow it through, so that's good.
He did follow through on that right away,
Yep.
So that was the gist of my meetings.
Okay. Bob?
I went to the coalition, county coalition, as far as the schools and the cities and whatnot. It's a transportation coalition for kids that are either in foster care or placement, and they transport them back to their school districts and whatnot. We discussed the funding, which has been going down a little bit, but the need is not going down, and some discussion as far as that's concerned. But being the first meeting, I was a little bit of a novice as far as that's concerned, so more of a listen and learn session for me, but understanding that funding is down and the need is not, so.
It's family
Excuse me, where does the
collaborative.
funding come from?
Comes from the state.
Okay, because I wasn't even aware of that, as I mentioned before here, I think that I did that for a while. I transported some kids from in foster care in Houston to La Crescent, and I just think it's a critical program because these kids have already had enough disruption, and then to take them out of the school that they have friends and are comfortable with would just add to the trauma.
Right.
So.
But that's a semi-annual meeting, so it's not until October the next time they meet, so
Yeah.
hard to keep up to.
Yeah.
I do have
But
one
it's
meeting.
not us that has to keep up to it, it's those superintendents
Right.
and their finance
Right.
people.
Right.
Because they're the ones that are checked on constantly, random moments they call them.
Right. Yeah.
Call them up in the spur
Makes
of the
no
moment and
sense
say,
to me at all.
are you doing your job today?
Yeah.
Or are you looking at
What
email?
are you doing right now?
What are you doing?
Really?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
call, they actually make calls randomly through the school districts.
Yeah.
What are you doing right now? And
it
if
makes
you're
no
not
sense.
doing it, your funding's cut.
Of course, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But, the other meeting I
What you
have,
want me to be doing, I'll do that.
yeah. The other meeting I have
It's
is
really
I've
dumb.
got a Selco board meeting tonight in Rochester, or this at 5:30, so I can report on that at the next one. I'm done.
Okay.
Jack,
I was gone, so
Yeah.
I have no.
you wanna give a report on your vacation?
No, I won't bore you.
Yeah. Jealousy is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I had to call Jack about something, and I didn't call first thing in the morning. I thought he was home. So I call about 10, and he goes, it's 6 a.m. here." I said, where are you? He said, I'm in Hawaii.
We had a couple of those calls, at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, hello, yeah. It's 8 here, yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
You didn't know, you didn't, yeah. No.
Well, you must have been up, you picked it up.
If I could sleep, I would have been, but no, I told Teresa, don't worry, I'm awake.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all I got is, on January 9th, I went to the Root River One Watershed District meeting. They hadn't had one in a while, so I too was basically there just to soak things in because I'm new to this too. And I wasn't there from the very beginning, but other commissioners, Dwayne Bakke and Marcia Ward and Peterson from Dodge Center, a couple other guys too, were there, and they expressed some concern on a few things, and basically it was more of a communication problem. They were, the soil boards, the techs have the authority to move money around, so like if a certain part of the district is rained out or it's too wet to work, they can move it over here, they might get it completed, and so they were moving stuff around, and that kind of upset some of the commissioners because they didn't know about that, so now they're going to do email notices, so when they do this, at least they're up to date and they know what's going on. But for 2021, they got $1.4 million, a little over, so they got a lot more money to work with this year, so.
Oh, that's good.
And hopefully, they're going to get the Crooked Creek, I believe it is, watershed project going, so they still got a little more stuff to get lined up, but they're hoping that gets fully funded for this year, so. Only other thing I wanted to bring up is I don't know if I'm sure you guys got some of the emails on the concern of the progress of the land use plan. Jeff has asked Aaron to set up another meeting to regroup and look this over, and so in the next few days, hopefully that'll happen. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you guys have been listening to the radio, but this is just a invite or another public notice that the Houston Cancer Telethon's coming up this Saturday night in Houston, and the pancake breakfast is in the morning at the fire hall, so.
Saturday morning?
Yep.
Cool.
So, just wanted to give notice to that.
Good.
Yep. That's it.
Can I add one thing?
Yep.
I have a short-term memory issue. We did have a finance committee meeting this morning.
Oh, yeah.
And at the finance meeting, we didn't discuss the budget. We discussed the upcoming audit and audit planning or audit strategy. So the auditors were there telling us what and how and what not the audit is gonna be, so.
Okay.
Carla from, Carla?
Carla and, can't remember the young lady's name who accompanies Carla all the time, and now they have a new young man who was already meeting with, I'm not sure. He was-
Dylan is
Yeah,
his
Dylan
name.
was meeting.
He was in HR when we started our meeting, and
Yeah.
then he was going down to, I think, focusing on licensing.
That's right, yeah, so, yeah, they're circulating.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody forgot, or
Public comment.
if not, closing public comment? No.
Raise your hand in a hurry or we're out of here.
I guess all we need now is a motion to
Move
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.